So, I didn't want kids. I didn't want to get married. I thought I was going to be career girl, and that's it.
This isn't the first time Ayesha Curry has stirred attention by bringing her NBA star husband into the spotlight on live TV. However, this time, she's taken things a step further. And according to rumors circulating online, she may be calling it quits. Let's break down what happened. It all began unexpectedly with what seemed like a simple podcast appearance. Just another celebrity sit-down. Ayesha Curry, the wife of NBA superstar Stephen Curry, joined Alex Cooper on Call Her Daddy for what was intended to be an open and reflective conversation about identity, marriage, and motherhood. But within hours, that honesty would spark one of the biggest celebrity controversies of the year. The internet, always eager for drama, devoured every word. So what exactly did she say? And how did the woman once admired as America's most wholesome basketball wife suddenly become the villain in her own love story? What happens when the life you so carefully plan for yourself takes an unexpected turn? When the ambitious dreams you've nurtured since childhood collide with a reality you never saw coming? For Ayesha Curry, these questions became deeply personal. In August 2025, she sat down for what would become one of her most revealing interviews, yet on Call Her Daddy. What she shared with host Alex Cooper wasn't just another celebrity fluff piece. It was a raw, unfiltered glimpse into the complexities of young marriage, the challenges of unexpected motherhood, and the ongoing struggle to maintain one's identity when life refuses to follow the script you've written. At first, nothing about the interview seemed controversial. Nervously laughing in the opening moments of the show, Ayesha joked with Alex.
So, I didn't want kids. I didn't want to get married. I thought I was going to be career girl, and that's it.
Hoping I don't get in trouble for the things that I say, she joked playfully, unaware that within just 24 hours, her words would ignite a storm across the internet. What started as an honest conversation would soon explode into thousands of think pieces, reaction videos, memes, and heated comment wars. A few minutes later came the moment that changed everything. A single line that would be taken wildly out of context. It was a confession that millions of people heard, yet very few truly understood.
He's one of the first people that I met in the States, but just friends. Obviously, we were 14.
Those 14 words, plucked from a much longer and more thoughtful conversation, became the internet's so-called proof that Ayesha regretted her marriage, that she was tired of Steph, and that a divorce was right around the corner. Except that's not what she said. Not even close. The full interview revealed something very different. Ayesha was reflecting on how love, timing, and circumstance had reshaped her life. She explained that before meeting Steph, her focus had been entirely on her career. But after falling in love, her plans shifted in ways she never anticipated. Those words might surprise people who only know Ayesha today. A mother of 4, a successful entrepreneur, and seemingly the picture-perfect NBA wife. Yet what she expressed was a truth many young women can relate to. Sometimes, the person we become looks nothing like the person we once imagined. And that transformation isn't always easy, glamorous, or free of challenges. Ayesha Curry was born in Markham, Ontario, Canada, and from the age of 3, she was already immersed in the entertainment industry. While other kids spent their afternoons playing soccer or riding bikes, young Ayesha was busy on commercial sets, doing print work, and appearing on television. Acting wasn't just a childhood pastime. It was her identity, the one thing she believed would define her future. Everything changed when her family moved from Canada to North Carolina when she was 14. It was there, at a church youth group, that she met a boy everyone seemed to have a crush on, a charming teenager named Stephen Curry. But this wasn't some instant love story. In fact,
it was one of the best days of my life. Honestly, it was so innocent and young, and I wish I could relive that.
At that time, their relationship was purely platonic. Ayesha had far bigger ambitions than teenage crushes. She was focused, driven, and determined to make it in Hollywood. After graduating from high school a year early, she packed her bags and headed to Los Angeles to chase her acting dreams. Her parents, who had raised her in what she described as a strict and disciplined household, surprised her by giving their blessing. At just 17, Ayesha found herself in the city she'd always dreamed about. But life in Los Angeles turned out to be both everything she'd imagined and nothing like she expected. Her father helped her get settled, paying for an apartment for the first month. But soon, the harsh reality of LA's high cost of living hit her hard. To survive, Ayesha juggled 3 jobs, working at a frozen yogurt shop, at Abercrombie & Fitch, and at local farmers markets on weekends, all while trying to attend auditions and land acting roles. It was during this period of relentless hustle and uncertainty that something unexpected happened. Stephen Curry, the same boy she once knew from church youth group, reached out to her on Facebook. He was in Los Angeles for a basketball camp and wanted to meet up. That casual reconnection, a simple hangout on Hollywood Boulevard, would set off a chain of events that completely changed the course of Ayesha's life.
I didn't know that he was going to end up playing basketball. He said he wanted to be a high school basketball coach.
The sweetness of their early dating days stands in sharp contrast to the complexities that would come later. Back then, everything was simple, innocent, and full of genuine connection. They did all the typical touristy things, walking hand in hand down Hollywood Boulevard, pressing their palms into the cement at the Chinese theater, sipping chai lattes, and strolling through the Grove. It was, as Ayesha later described it, real young love. Neither of them had any idea what the future would bring. They couldn't have imagined the incredible level of success Stephen was destined for, nor how that fame would completely reshape both of their lives. And here's something crucial to understand about their early relationship. Ayesha had no idea Stephen would one day become an NBA superstar. She wasn't chasing fame, fortune, or the life of a basketball player's wife. In fact,
I didn't. I just knew that I loved him, and I'd never experienced anything else. I'd never felt any differently than this is who I want to spend the rest of my life.
This is a crucial detail that often gets lost amid all the public commentary. Ayesha fell in love with Stephen the person, not Stephen the potential NBA star. She came from an arts-driven family where sports weren't exactly a big deal. As she once put it, outside of Doug Flutie playing for the Buffalo Bills, sports just weren't a thing in my house. In fact, she genuinely believed she would be the one with the big career, while Stephen might end up coaching high school basketball somewhere down the line. But life, as it so often does, had other plans. After a period of long-distance dating while Stephen finished his final year of college, things began to move quickly. They got engaged in July 2010 and tied the knot a year later, on July 30th, 2011, when Ayesha was just 22 years old. And here's where things start to get really interesting. When most people think of marriage at 22, they picture someone who spent years dreaming of wedding dresses, family life, and white picket fences. But that wasn't Ayesha at all. This was the same woman who once swore she never wanted to get married, who had zero interest in domestic life, and who envisioned herself as a full-fledged Hollywood career woman. So what changed?
I say this all the time to our family. I'm like, you guys, 22. I'm like, you guys. I'm like, not a single parent. Nobody was like, hey guys, are you?
It's a beautiful sentiment, one that highlights something profound about life and love. Often, we surprise ourselves by discovering that what we truly want is very different from what we once thought we wanted. Ayesha's story is a reminder that our dreams can evolve, and sometimes the life that fulfills us most isn't the one we originally imagined. But here's the thing that Ayesha also candidly admits. That realization didn't come without its struggles. The shift from ambitious young actress to wife of a rising NBA star was not seamless. It required her to let go of old versions of herself and reconcile with a new reality she hadn't planned for.
How are you confused?
Because
Alex.
my OB said expect it to take up to a year. And so I'm like, in my head, I heard at least a year. I was thinking we were going to be bar hopping. It's like, nope, you're pregnant and you're going to be very, very.
And I say this all the time to our family, Ayesha recalled with a laugh. I'm like, you guys, I was 22. Not one single person stopped and said, hey, are you sure about this? It was a light-hearted comment, but underneath the humor was a hint of truth. Ayesha was young, navigating life-altering decisions without much pause or guidance. What she thought would be a straightforward love story quickly turned into a journey filled with responsibilities, compromises, and self-discovery, all while the world watched her every move.
I remember there being a shift and being like, I have goals for myself. Like, this doesn't feel right. I love being a mom, but I love doing other things too. And I need to get my shit together and figure out.
Everyone around them was supportive and encouraging, telling the young couple to go for it. And so they did. At just 22 years old, with limited life experience and boundless optimism, Ayesha married the man she loved and prepared to embark on what she believed would be an exciting new adventure together. What she didn't know, what she couldn't have known, was how quickly her life was about to change in ways she never anticipated. Because here's the bombshell that changed everything. Just 3 months after getting married, Ayesha found out she was pregnant.
I think my identity. So, because I have such an entrepreneurial spirit, not being able to call the shots all the time for myself was freaking weird.
Think about that for a moment. Ayesha had just gotten married at 22, still a young woman who, only months earlier, was working 3 jobs in Los Angeles chasing her acting dreams. She never wanted kids, never wanted to get married, and had always imagined herself as an independent career woman. Yet now, just 3 months into marriage, she was facing an unexpected pregnancy and battling severe morning sickness. As she later reflected, "It was not on my bingo card." This is where Ayesha's story becomes more than just her own. It becomes a story that resonates deeply with countless women. Women who find themselves living a reality completely different from the one they imagined, trying to reconcile who they thought they'd be with who they're becoming. What happens to a young woman's sense of self when everything she planned for her life suddenly disappears? When the career she was building becomes impossible to pursue? When the independence she once cherished transforms into partnership and dependence in ways she never anticipated? These were the questions that haunted Ayesha in the early years of her marriage. And as Stephen's career exploded into superstardom, those questions only became more complicated, more pressing, and far harder to navigate. The identity crisis. After her daughter Riley was born in 2012, Ayesha Curry found herself in a position millions of women know all too well. She was a mother, but she was also still herself, or at least she was trying to figure out who herself even was anymore. The transformation didn't happen overnight. For that first year, she was swept up in the whirlwind of new motherhood. The sleepless nights, endless feedings, and the complete restructuring of life around a tiny human who needed her constantly.
I remember like one time right after my first was born, she was whiny, so I was like, let me just nurse her in the back seat. And Stephen was putting a bike or something in the trunk. And this woman like opens the car door and she sticks her head in and she's like, I just wanted to see the baby.
This moment of recognition, this awareness that motherhood, as beautiful and rewarding as it can be, wasn't enough to fulfill her entirely, is something many women quietly experience but rarely admit out loud. Society often sends the message that once you become a mother, that should be enough. You should feel content, grateful, and complete. But Ayesha wanted more. And more importantly, she needed to figure out what more even meant now. The acting career she had worked her whole life for was no longer feasible. The woman who had been on sets since the age of 3, who had moved to Los Angeles at 17 to chase her dreams, who was supposed to be that girl, ambitious, independent, unstoppable, now felt like a distant version of herself. Her struggle with identity became even more complicated as Stephen's career skyrocketed. When they got married, Ayesha genuinely believed he'd become a high school basketball coach. She expected hers to be the big career. But instead, her husband was evolving into one of the greatest basketball players of all time, revolutionizing the game, signing massive contracts, and achieving global fame. And Ayesha, she became known as his wife, the mother of his children, the woman cheering from the sidelines, appearing at events, and managing the home while he traveled the world. It wasn't that she resented his success. She was proud of him, but beneath the pride, there lingered a quiet question. Who am I now?